again, everybody, and welcome to the two-man game here on Claibs Online. I'm Bob Ramsey. That's Matt Rocchio, and we are getting ready for Game 6 in the NBA. We have a couple other little tidbits to get to. So before we get to the NBA, Rocc, first of all, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Rammer. How are you?
Doing very well. I'm fired up today because
Yes.
I went to the first full team workout at St. Louis University, which is, for those of you who don't know, and maybe have joined us just during the NBA playoffs, we talked Billiken basketball and college basketball frequently in season. But being the Billiken guy, it was I know I'd seen my broadcast partner Earl Austin. He saw some individual workouts yesterday. I saw the team workout today. So we're equally excited about this club, Rocc. It was really some good stuff. First thing I loved, and I already knew it, but I love seeing it again, Travis Ford out there teaching and coaching his ass off. It was
Surprising.
He's a CEO, but doesn't act like one. He gets in there and works his tail off. And when he talked, there was a segment talking about free throw shooting, and he goes, okay, we do it like this, and hit like 10 in a row. But then he's out there showing defensive stance and, stick hand and back foot and front foot, and where we want guys to go and where we're looking for help and where we don't want to help and where we're turning our guys and now in this situation, you go to the corner. What's the corner? And then say, this is the corner. If your foot is here, you're not in the corner. And just the detail and the coaching. St. Louis University is very fortunate to have Travis Ford and his staff.
Gosh, I love hearing that. That's amazing. And by the way, John Rothstein always lets us know 144 days until the official start of college basketball here as we're talking about. So any big I'm sure it's in this time of the workouts, it's everyone's in the best shape of their life, everyone's looking good, shots are falling because it's practice and things like that. But was there anything not necessarily from the workout, but just watching St. Louis get out there and play again, that just kind of anything just kind of ticked through your brain, just kind of any takeaways, tidbits, just things you maybe thought about, like, oh, I hadn't thought about that, but seeing these guys get out here and run again, this has got the wheels churning a little bit.
I'm glad you said the word run, because this team, a big part of the practice was running game. Mm-hmm. They're going to push, and shoot. This is a phenomenal group in that regard. Now, they may not stack up sort of physical beast mode like when you go play Alabama or somebody and everybody's 6'8" and 230 and cut, but the strength and conditioning people do a marvelous job, and they were licking their chops ready to get all the new guys into the gym. They did their testing a couple of days ago. Here's a couple of tidbits. Who do you think has the highest vertical?
Oh gosh. Upperclassmen or
no,
lower?
I'll just give it to you because
right.
You won't get it because the thought of it will be frightening.
Gibson?
6'9" Francis Okoro.
Okay, that makes sense. God bless.
He's attacking the rim, running, and his head's at the rim. Another guy who we knew as a scorer, the leading junior college scorer in Sincere Parker, all he does on drills is go dunk.
Yeah.
Got a great vertical. And then here is the surprise. They do I can't remember the exact phrase, but there's the standing vertical, and then there's the I don't know if you'd call it adjusted vertical or a two-step, more of a practical vertical.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
One of the highest on the team, Nick Kramer from St. Louis U High.
Oh, I like that.
And this was what was funny, because all of us, let's face it, we're all bigots. We would put him at the bottom of the list if you were going to predict, right? Don't lie.
Well, here's the thing, and I'll say this, I'll be 100% honest. It's not only because of that, it's because when I asked some people about Nick Kramer and how much he could be and what's his kind of future with St. Louis, the two things I heard was I don't know if his shot is quick enough, and I don't know if he's going to get exposed on defense. And so to hear that he's that explosive vertically, usually if a guy's that explosive vertically, that means that he's got enough, latent physical talent that the lateral, as long as he's not out of shape, the lateral and those kind of things come to it. And then things like getting his shot quicker, he's got the quick twitch fibers if he's jumping like that, which means you can work on that. So based off the early scouting report I heard about him when he was early in his senior year, a lot of growing can happen in that 1 year in the first place, and clearly I think it has. So just hearing that stuff, that's why it's kind of shocking to me, because if it, I that's why I said Gibson when you said you're not going to guess it earlier, because that's very stereotypical. But with him, it was more of the scouting report I heard, and that tells me maybe maybe his trajectory for his future at SLU, where it was maybe 6 or 8 months ago, is a little bit different than it is now. Which I just like hearing that, kind of for the future.
The number is 38.
God bless. That's not bad.
That's what I said.
That'll work. Well, we can work with that.
And then you look at
hell with that. I don't care if you're released a little slower. Just really elevate on that jumper. You'll be fine.
And then just he's so excited about all the new guys, Kellen Thames and Larry Hughes and Nick and Parker. If I'm leaving somebody out, I apologize. It's the one guy that's not there is Mamadou Cisse, still dealing with all the things you have to do being an international student.
Makes sense.
And going through all those procedures. So it might be another week or so before he gets in. So it was exciting to be there. First day of practice. Hey, let me say this. Every school should be excited first day of practice.
Yes.
So it makes me and Billiken fans no different from how fans all over the country should feel. You should feel excited about your team on day one.
And a quick little note, you said run. I just think it's going to be interesting. One of the big things we talked about with St. Louis last year was their versatility to play big, play bruising, play small, play fast. And I just think that this year the versatility in their lineup is going to be from the 4 up, essentially, is we're going to see a similar style at the 5 pretty much no matter what. We're not really going to see, I don't think, any traditional 5-4 matchups as much. This is just going to be a team that gets out and runs 40 minutes a game, and you combine that with a disciplined team that Travis used to like to run defensively, and with the way this offense has been able to progress now, that system that he's been getting in there, now being able to go kind of full bore into that 4 out with the shooters, with the passer and Yuri Collins. There's just so much to get excited about, and it's just kind of the very beginning, if you will.
One more quick teaser, and then we'll get to Game 6. I'm not lying. I'm admitting I didn't zero laser focus on this individual all of the 2-hour practice, but I watched him a lot. Javonte Perkins he did all the drills. He did everything. You can tell he's still compromised. He's still got a lot of rehab to do, but here's what I can tell you. He didn't miss a shot for 2 hours.
God, you like hearing that. Doesn't surprise me.
Now,
you like hearing that.
Can you go back and would Travis say, oh, yeah, he missed one here? Maybe I'm looking somewhere else if they're split on different ends of the floor or whatever. I didn't see him miss a shot. So that's our little teaser.
There it is, little SLU basketball talk in mid-June.
So let's get to Game 6. That's what everybody wants to talk about. They want to get your thoughts on it. I sort of got another game right. What I didn't realize or didn't credit to the script I wrote, Rocc, was that the Celtics fell back into that turnover mode.
Yep.
They out-rebounded, and I thought if they'd out-rebound, they'd win. But that doesn't work if they give it back with turnovers. The point about rebounding is to limit Golden State's field goal attempts. Well, if you give it right back, you're wasting the rebounding effort.
Yeah, and it was all kind of balanced out by when they weren't turning the ball over, because the turnovers were a little bit weighted towards the fourth quarter. When they weren't turning the ball over, they weren't hitting shots in the first, and that's why it was such a huge deficit. It wasn't necessarily bad offense in the first. It was just they couldn't hit a shot to save their life. And then they kind of get the game right a little bit. The second and third go their way. The third completely goes their way. They're able to climb back in with, outscoring them by 11 or 12 there in the third. They attacked Curry in a really interesting way, I thought, throughout the third, before kind of losing it early in the fourth, and that kind of being the death knell, if you will. It was a really interesting game in a lot of ways. I think that I still think when I'm hearing everybody else, people are seeing. I might be, maybe I'm biased. Maybe I'm just watching this with SCL colored glasses, but I'm just not as down on Jayson Tatum throughout this finals as a lot of people have been, and I'm not sure. And again, maybe I'm being biased, but again, was he fantastic? Was he incredible? No. Did he miss too many shots to the rim? Was he not driving the ball? Yes, but 27 points on 20 shots with 10 rebounds and 4 assists when you're essentially being doubled every play. I'm not gonna scoff at that. Again, it's not dominating. It's not LeBron. It's not to that level. But I think we're seeing a guy who's turned 24 2 months ago and is playing in his first finals and is part of essentially an 8-man rotation that is now playing, game 104 or something along those lines. This team, he clearly, he's not driving the ball the same way he was even in game 3. We talked about them getting that big win late. He's not driving the ball. No one else is driving the ball. Al Horford hasn't been the same player since game 1. It's just the Celtics look a little, rough right now, especially as we get later into these games.
Well, I wonder what people say when they win tonight. But anyway,
I think they are going to. That's the thing. I think they are going to win tonight because the games haven't been that different. It's crazy. Everything's been double digits, but not a single game is that a reflective score.
Right.
And that's what's been insane is even game 5 wasn't a reflective score of how that game went for the most part and the big swings, but just these teams just murder each other at the end of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and then you kind of lay your groundwork on how that fourth quarter is going to go earlier in the game, and particularly the third quarter tells you a whole lot about it. And
teams keep surviving. The runs in the third, yeah. So
it's really incredible. Draymond Green, as I said, bounced back.
Yep.
So I'm going to take that credit.
Yep.
And I think that back home, the Celtics have to play. Well, never mind. It's a dumb statement. But to get to Game 7, they've got to take the defense up one more notch. Well, if you weren't giving it I'm not saying they weren't giving a better effort. They've just got to be better. You got to go up one more notch, and that's being a pro. That's being a champion. And if they can do that, they'll win tonight. I think it's Tatum at the rim. I think it's Marcus Smart. I think they need a game where Marcus Smart is a dominating player on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, and maybe that's the biggest factor that we're not talking about is just how subtle. No, there was 2 games there, wasn't there? Yeah, there were 2 games. That's the thing. There were 2 games, 2 days between games 4 and 5. That should have been enough for them to get their legs under.
Yeah.
Even though they're going away, and so maybe coming back and getting those 2 days, that's what Tatum and those guys need. Because again, I'm just worried about his ability to get to the rim right now. Not for any skill-wise reason. It's just that Tatum usually, in the first place, even game 24 of a regular season when he's at tip-top shape, he's not going to beat everybody with his first step. He's bigger, stronger, and more skilled, and he's got those wide-ass shoulders that he knows how to use. That's what his game is, and so. He's one of those guys where if you take away even the little bit he's got on that first step, now he's not the same threat from the perimeter, and guys like Andrew Wiggins and such can stay in front of him a little bit easier. So I do wonder about, the rotation. I wonder the same thing with Robert Williams. Is Grant Williams, shot completely disappearing because his legs are tired? But I don't think you can deny missing, having 3 air balls and missing as many free throws as Jayson Tatum and the entire Celtics team did, that this isn't a team that's kind of, running on fumes at this point. And again, that shouldn't be shocking. They've been an 8-man rotation since January. Team usually we always talk about rotations on this show, and it's they're a 12-man rotation now. How do they go down to 8 in the playoffs? But if you don't ever have the 12-man in the regular season, things get a little squirrely at times when you got to stay at that 8 and then you go on this long run. That starts to wear on you, and so I think that's a real live factor in this game. And then you have to add on all the other things, which is how are the Warriors going to play the fact that the Celtics started taking away that space that Steph was getting in the high pick and roll, which took away a lot of his really open 3-point shots. how are they going to continue to play Jayson Tatum? Are they going to continue to say, hey, you're going to have to beat us with passes, and the rest of
And
your team,
drives.
Grant Williams, is going to have to hit threes for you to really beat us? Or are they going to maybe say, listen, to find Tatum, this is going to be one game where we're gonna make sure no one else beats us, and you're going to have to send this one back to San Francisco? There's a lot of things there, but for me, I can't get over the fact that that team looked run down at the end of Game 5.
That's a really interesting point, and it's probably true. And tonight they can't use it as an excuse.
No, I mean it's not an excuse, but I mean
Yeah,
that's
no, I know you, and I'm just saying.
but it's sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm going to say that I agree. They can't do that, and they need good games from everybody, and then they'll need it again for Game 7. But you can't worry about Game 7 until you get this one tonight. And if guys start looking ahead, I mean, if you've got to completely empty the tank tonight, complete. Well, then what do I have for Game 7? Again, forget Game 7.
It doesn't exist. Yeah.
Win 6.
Yeah, it's you got to win this one no matter what. Which is why I think there's also kind of an interesting subplot in Robert Williams III and him pushing himself on that knee. Isaiah Thomas chimed in on Twitter, kind of quote retweeting him there was a headline that says Robert Williams says or Celtics assure Robert Williams that continuing to play on his knee won't hurt his future, and Isaiah Thomas quote retweeted that was like, yeah, that's what they told me. And so there's kind of people saying, well, it's a Game 6 to potentially put a ring on your finger in a game. You got to keep on pushing yourself. This is what you play for. So there's even those little sub threads of like, should a Robert Williams push himself beyond 33, 36 minutes in a game because they need him to play 40, 42, and kind of those kind of things. And that's the fun thing about championship championship sports at this level. It's really interesting. There's so many different layers.
What did they tell Isaiah Thomas right before he ruined the CBA? You don't remember? That's before your time. When he took over the Continental Basketball Association, that had been in business since before the NBA.
There's one Isaiah Thomas, and then there's a different Isaiah Thomas.
Oh, okay.
One of them won championships. There's one, and then there's another.
Yeah, you're right.
Both very good, but very different players.
No, I was a Utah Jazz guy, so I always look for ways. That is interesting because what do you win? What do you win it for? And there really isn't a wrong answer. But in the end, it's a team sport. And do you want to be a champion? And what are you willing to do? And if you say, well, I'm going to compromise my career, I may never get an opportunity. I can't blame a guy for saying, I got a chance for generational financial, making a financial difference generationally. I don't blame a guy for that. No, go ahead.
This is a much larger critique on just all of sports. We always pick and choose in sports when it's a team game and when it's a business, or when it's just a game or it's a business, or when it's for the love of the game or just a business. It always seems to be that there's these two active dichotomies, and we pick and choose when we want to treat sports at the professional level like one thing and like the other thing. And different people in the sport get to treat it like one thing, and then other people have to treat it like another thing. And that, I think, is just it's an interesting thing that bothers me a little bit, is that Robert Williams is supposed to make the decision for the best for the team and for the love of the game and for that kind of thing. But we don't expect every single owner in every single league to, lose money to try to go to win championships every year, because it's a business, right? And so it's just it's a weird way that people kind of push those two different things. Because I mean, again, if it's both a sport and a business, then you have to give it equal weight to your point, which is my future is another contract when my knees are healthy.
Exactly right. There's my favorite football movie of all time, North Dallas 40. And the late John Matuzak has a line in there where he's yelling at one of the coaches and he's right after then they lost the game and spoiler alert, 40-year-old movie, sorry. And he's basically screaming at the guy, and he says, every time I call it a business, you call it a game, and every time I call it a game, you call it a business. You're all, and then he had some expletives for the front office.
My wisdom is original, but not new.
No, it's never been better stated. That dichotomy, your word.
I love the way, man. I gotta find that movie quote and put it in my phone and my laptop and everything I could use to possibly play it for people.
John Matuzak, North Dallas 40, but that is the issue, especially since free agency became a part of the world of professional sports in the 50s and 60s, and for some sports even into the 70s. You could go, hey, I get World Series money, or I get playoff bonus money. Winning a championship and making money are tied together. Yeah. But since free agency, which is how it should be, let someone ply their wares, But since free agency, winning and the money have been separated. And so in a regard, it's hurt all sports.
While we're on tangents, I'm going to make one more tangent because you're mentioning free agency. Saturday night, 7 p.m. after Jackie on a History Channel. It's a documentary about baseball after Jackie Robinson, and they chronicle a lot of Cardinals. Curt Flood's one of the big guy they talk about for very good reason. Obviously, a man who changed the game and things like that. So you talking about that made me think about that, and I just want to remind people because I already got it saved on my DVR YouTube TV actually.
What channel will that be?
History Channel.
On the History Channel.
Yeah, and
I know it has contributions from our boss, the fantastic Mike Claiborne,
who was on MLB Network the other day talking about it, which I thought was awesome.
That's awesome.
But anyway,
and that's why it's Claibs Online and not Rocc Online or Rammer Online.
Exactly, because I was watching him on the television while he was on the television.
That's exactly right.
But
so let's get back to Game 6 tonight. I think the Celtics win because I think they will sell out. I think they'll completely sell out. They'll empty the tank. I think Brown will be good. I think Smart elevates. I think Horford. Now he may not give you a 30. He already had a big offensive game, but I think he plays well. I think they do everything right and they win.
Just don't turn the ball over. And this is going to be a 4-point game at the 2-minute mark. And at that point, the question comes down to, can Jayson Tatum score? Can he win a game in the last minutes of a fourth quarter? The way he did at the beginning of a fourth quarter in the third. I think it's really going to come down to that. Just do not turn the ball over. It's crazy how simplified this series has come down to that. We're literally talking about things like don't turn the ball over, rebound well, and don't let them get on in transition too much. And it's like cool. Those were my 3 bullet points when I was coaching 6th grade basketball 3 weeks ago. How the hell is that still what plays through? But that's the thing about basketball is that at the most complicated levels, there are still these basics. You can be talking about 12 dudes who can windmill dunk and rock the cradle every single time they come down the court, but it still comes down to, can you box out and throw a pass to somebody in the correct jersey?
What's your record?
In the series so far?
No, 6th grade.
Oh God, I know I wasn't. You know what? I wasn't coaching. No one. Usually, people ask me to see how I shoot a free throw, and it's like the Travis Ford experience. They're like, you can't shoot free throws. I don't want you coaching my child. It's like, you know what? I have great theory, but I'm not practical or experimental, if you will.
I think you're the perfect bench coach.
I think I'd be a fantastic bench. Listen,
no doubt.
Listen, take away the nervousness, but keep the overwrought Shakespeare metaphors. And I think I could be a good Jason Segel in winning time, and that kind of version of a basketball coach. Again, including the overwrought Shakespeare metaphors. I think I could do kind of like that kind of thing. It's like give me a way too smart coach with a really complicated system. I got this. Let's do this.
No, I think you're right, and I think your situation would be kind of like the best job of all in any industry is consultant. Well, hey, coach, here's what I think you ought to do.
Oh yeah,
and then when it doesn't.
And then when it goes wrong, it's like, man, that coach made a weird decision there. Listen, I mean, I just gave him the numbers. He made the decision.
Yeah,
that's it. Is the real big steal away is the guy in football who tells the guy, well, it's a 33% chance here if you go for two, and then he goes for it. It's like, well, I just told him the percentage chance. I didn't call the play. That's the best job. But
so it's funny tonight. We keep talking. It sounds like we're in Boston doing the show.
It does sound like we're in Boston.
It's all Celtics centric. Well, what about the Warriors? Can they have the kind of game they need? What if? Is it possible for them to be unconscious from the 3-point line?
I think it's going to be telling early on in the first, like I said earlier, how Boston continues their defensive coverage of Steph Curry. Do they continue what they did in the fourth quarter and in the third quarter of Game 5 and start closing out on Steph a lot earlier on those high screen and rolls? And if they're able to do that and he continues to not be able to get off clean looks, I think that's something they're going to go to town on. And then on the other side, in the third quarter, when they kind of climbed back into the game, they attacked Steph possession after possession after possession after possession. So the fact that they've made those two tactical moves, I like them, but I wonder what is the Warriors' response to those, because the Warriors
Right.
are all about punch counter punch. So what is the Warriors' counterpunch to those two changes that we saw the Celtics lean on to make that a game in Game 5? And I think that's a big question. My other one is, again, Stephen Curry's not going to have another game where he goes 0-9 from 3. That's just not going to happen.
No.
But at the same time, Andrew Wiggins is not going to do that again. He's a great player. He's completely accepted a new role, which is easy when you're getting paid more than the other players on your team who have a bigger role, but nonetheless, he's accepted his new role. He's gotten better. He's adjusted to the parts of his game that we all thought he had when he came out of Kansas, but that he never really brought to the table in the NBA, while at the same time accentuating the parts that he actually did bring to the NBA, which is volume scoring when you need it and really good rebounding. But now he's added defense and the other intangibles. But, I mean, I just think people fall into a trap. Andrew Wiggins scored 26 points on 23 shots and went 0 for 6 from deep in that game. So, yeah, he played out of his mind, and people want to talk about, hey, he played out of his mind, but tell me how that's that much different from Jayson Tatum's scoring line and how much worse a game he had. And it's not. And that's why that's why only looking at box scores is different, because you cannot watch that game and tell me that Andrew Wiggins didn't have an outsized, more important role to the game than Jayson Tatum did. He just did. He outplayed him. There's no doubt about it. He's outplayed him literally since Jayson Tatum went 3 for 4 on him one-on-one in Game 3 to give the Celtics a 2-1 lead. He's outplayed him completely. And so he's not going to have that kind of game again, and if he's asked to, that will benefit the Celtics. So the big question is, how do they play Stephen Curry? How do they attack Steph Curry? And essentially from there, can Jayson Tatum do enough? Because no matter what you want to say, Jayson Tatum is going to have to do a lot. The reason why Jaylen Brown's had big games is because of the gravity of Jayson Tatum, the way that a defense is pushed and pulled by his presence. But again, I think this is one of the few things I've been right about in this finals, is that the Warriors want him to be 24-12 and not 35-5. And they continue to say, listen, we know you're going to get your points. We know, but can you consistently be a playmaker? And he has been at times, a lot of bad turnovers as well, but he has been at times. The shooters haven't been there. He's had turnovers other times. And then again, I bring in the third factor, is the fatigue forcing him to be too much of a jump shooter, playing too far out from 12 feet out instead of getting in 12 feet inside. Those are the big things in the Tatum realm, and those are the big things in the Curry realm, because I think it's cliche, especially when you talk about two guys who maybe aren't necessarily matching up too much, but it's just, this is going to be telling what the stars do tonight. And sometimes, again, basketball's simple. Sometimes the NBA version's pretty simple too. Stars matter in Game 6s of NBA Finals. Flat out, no doubt.
So, what's the call for tonight? What do you got?
I'm still gonna go with the Boston Celtics. I think they got one more game in it. Again, if you're telling me, like you were saying earlier, you got one more game, you got 48 minutes to survive. I don't care how dead we are in 7. I don't care if we're all got broken legs and snapped femurs. We made it to 7, and that's tomorrow. We'll figure it out. You got to get there. And I think that this Celtics team, in a last-ditch effort, this is a mindset that has been born into this team since January. Just keep on chugging. 8 guys, keep on chugging. They're down to like 6 now, but keep on going. And so I think they got one more in them at least. That's why I think it's Game 6. Jayson Tatum isn't going to have another the people around Jayson Tatum aren't going to have another bad game. He's going to calm down a little bit in Boston. He's not going to have the bad turnovers, and just those little bits on the margin will be enough to beat a Warriors team that, again, is going to look about the same, scoring-wise, efficiency-wise, but it's going to look different. It's going to come from Steph Curry. It's going to come from Klay a little bit more, and I don't think we're going to see that from Wiggins.
I got Celtics 102-94.
I like that you said 102. 102 is a good number. It's funny you said that. That's kind of the number that I saw.
Really?
Yeah, it was another number. Who was it? It was Chris Vernon and Kevin O'Connor over at The Ringer. Chris Vernon, the Memphis guy who does a podcast with Kevin O'Connor. He was talking about how his big thing was, if you're the Celtics, the fact that you lost a game where a team scored like 102 or 104 is pathetic, and how you just got to beat, if you're going to hold a team to 102, 104, you got to win the game. So the fact that you settled in on 102 for the Celtics, it popped into my brain, and I was like, I remember that number from this morning when I listened to their podcast. By the way, their podcast is very good. You should listen to it on everything you can. They do a great job.
Now, one more thing about this series, and this is only sort of off the court, an intangible, a story that we got earlier in the week.
Yes. Thank you so much for telling me about this. So there is, you might have seen him if you were tied into the NBA. There is a Klay Thompson impersonator. And it's one of those things where you can't give yourself a nickname because it means you kind of suck if you do. This guy did not give himself that nickname because somebody saw him and they were like, yeah, you look like Klay Thompson. He would go to Warriors games in the jersey, and he looks just like him. Slightly different. He's got a little bit fuller in the face, but an unbelievable impersonation. Well, after kind of running this game throughout the last 5-6 years as the Warriors have been so good, the man took a shot, and you cannot blame him for it. He got geared up in his Klay Thompson gear, threw the hood over his head, kind of scrunched it up a little bit, and then went walking straight through Chase Center security, and nothing happened. No one stopped him. At some point, there's a video you can find on his Twitter where somebody
says, "Onto the court, right?"
Yes. Well, on his way to the court, somebody says, "Let's go get a dub, Klay." And it's like a security person walking past him, and it's just like, what is happening? He gets out onto the court, and that's where it all goes poorly. He gets a couple shots up in the warm up, and then obviously, the jig is up. You gotta figure this one out. They figured it out. Security got on him, and now he has been banned from Chase Center for life. He had tickets to the game, actually. He's lost those tickets, obviously. So he said he lost $12,000. He said he lost $12,000, but he said he wouldn't trade the experience for everything in the world because he got out on the court in his entire Klay Thompson get-up. You know what? I respect the hustle. If you're the Warriors and they won't do this because despite the fact that they're used to be fun and from Oakland, they're not from San Fran and they have a stick up their ass, they're boring. Like I used to love the Warriors. They're so boring now. They're so corporate. It makes me it bums me out. They should have done something fun with this. This should have been an opportunity to say, like, let's swoop in here, have some fun, screw around. Yeah, let's make make it like a little thing about how like the security at your stadium's not a real joke, and like have some take some momentum and run with this. And this is what they would have done when they were the 8th seed playing in Oakland in those ugly-ass jerseys. But now they're corporate, and they're in San Francisco, and they're boring, and they're fuddy-duddy, and they banned the guy and immediately ran it out, and that makes me sad.
There is we could go into a whole thing on philosophies. We could do a whole nother talk show on when you get onto the playing field. My theory is all bets are off. All civil rights are gone. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, I like when a security guard takes a little liberty.
If you go
I
on
like
an NFL field and a linebacker takes your head off, too bad.
Yeah.
If you jump onto a baseball field and a player tackles you or a pitcher throws a ball at you or whatever.
Has that ever happened?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm just saying.
Okay.
My philosophy is you literally cross the line, you're on your own. However, there are times when you can, with this in the warm-up, have a little fun. You can tell the guy privately, let's don't do this again.
Yeah.
And maybe say, oh, your seats are down here. Well, now forever, they're up here. We sure hope you keep coming to the games. Or maybe even do a look-alike day and have fun with it.
And like I said, make him be like, hey, we're gonna do a couple of videos where we have fun with the fact that you look like Klay Thompson. But we're also gonna do a series of videos where like you gotta like be like the person who like is like a spokesperson for like security,
trespassing and security.
It could have been fun. That's the kind of stuff you got to do in the social media age. I think is have a little fun with it. Maybe there's some people out there who are going to say, listen, he trespassed and that's dangerous and those kind of things. And I understand that point, and I'm not trying to be all boring, but like, and that's real and everything like that. But I just think that's hilarious.
Some balance.
Also, reading the letter they gave him, it was very standard boilerplate. You were found in trespassing. If you go in this statement, if you go on the premises, you'll be in violation of criminal trespass. All very boilerplate. But it does bring me to something I've been wanting to talk about on the air in some capacity for a very long time. Kaiser Permanente is the most threatening sounding company name that I've ever heard in my entire life, and I can't explain why, but it's weird and it's always creeped me out. And I just want to get it out there. It's been boiling in my mind for a while.
That's a Tarantino character.
Kaiser Permanente being the name of a health insurance group in California has never not been the weirdest damn thing I've ever seen in my. It weirds me out every time I hear Kaiser Permanente. I can't help but just be like, "What is happening right now? How is that a name that is was chosen?" It creeps me out every time. I don't know why. Maybe it's just Tarantino kind of sounding right there in my ear. I don't know what it is. Yeah, exactly. It's the weirdest thing in the world. It's Kaiser Permanente. It freaks me out every time, and it's at the top. And it's always associated with the Warriors. And I've watched a lot of Warriors. It's never not been weird. I've done research on the company. The origin of the name it's weird as hell. I get it.
They're from an old Eastern Bloc country, I'm sure.
I'm sure, yeah. It's a weird ass company name, and I wanted to talk about it because I knew you of all people would understand the fact of why I'm so crazy. I mean, it's just like the word Kaiser that doesn't hit my unless it's like followed by roll. It doesn't hit my ear right.
That's the only time.
And again, it was founded by a guy with the last name Kaiser, and it's not his fault. The Permanente part weirds me out. The other guy who founded his name was like Garfield. That's much more like I'm conditioned to be okay with Garfield. That makes me feel safe. That makes me feel like I'm going to get good health care.
Then both the Kaiser and Garfield were both assassinated.
Oh,
we gotta go. We both have the Celtics tonight.
Absolutely, we do.
That's Matt Rocchio. I'm Bob Ramsey. Glad you were with us on Two-Man Game, even though we veered. And obviously always here on Claibs Online. We'll talk to you, I guess, Monday, right, Rocc?
I guess so. We'll see what happens.
We'll put a bow on it on Monday. Thanks for joining us.
From our route in St. Louis, Royal Banks of Missouri is branching out to continue serving you with our locations in St. Charles, Jerseyville, Granite City, and now in Hannibal, Center, and New London. Royal Banks of Missouri, the community bank in your community.
At St. Louis Acura, new inventory is arriving daily, both new and pre-owned. Our buying team adds a higher level of personalized service that others can't match. We sell over 100 pre-owned vehicles monthly, and many of these are matched by our buying teams in Missouri and Illinois. As new Acura production ramps up, be one of the lucky ones to try the newest Type S models now available. Performance has never been so stylish and comfortable. St. Louis Acura remains committed to becoming better than ever for you.